Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at what is under this black little canvas bag here. This is from MaxpeedingRODS, and I love dinosaur fuel generators. I think that these are probably the most important thing to have in your garage instead of these, Blue Eddies and Jackeries and all these solar panel generators that I review all the time. These, I think, are the most important and what's going to actually probably end up getting you out of a bind if you do have some type of extended power loss. You can't always rely on the sun. You can pretty much always rely on gas if the gas stations have gas or if you have gas stored at your house somehow. But I really do think that just a dinosaur fuel gas guzzling generator is one of the most important things that you can have in your garage, but you do have to keep them maintained. But this model right here, guys, and I'll get you an outside shot of it, but it is absolutely phenomenal. Just the specs on this thing and all of the features on it. This is a really nice generator, but this particular model right here is the MXR4000 GT gas / propane dual fuel inverter generator. So it's going to provide pure sine, clean energy if you need to run TVs, laptops, computers, all that good stuff. It puts out clean, safe energy. So probably the most important question that you guys have is how powerful is this and what can it run? If you're running this off of the gas side of things, it's going to have 4,000 rated starting watts and 3,200 rated running watts off of gasoline. If you use the propane side of this generator, it decreases that output just a little bit, and it's going to have 3,600 starting watts with 3,000 running watts. So you do decrease a little bit, but running liquid propane has a ton of advantages. You don't have to deal with the carburetor, keeping that clean. Gas gums up. These small engines are sometimes pretty difficult to keep maintained if you don't keep on top of the maintenance running it on gas. So I think I might keep this generator as a liquid propane only generator here in my garage, but you do decrease the output just a little bit if you're going to be using liquid propane. Now I'll bring you in, but the dashboard on this generator is insane. So what you're going to get on it, so over here in the top left, you're going to have your digital display. You're going to have your low oil, you're going to have your voltage, frequency, and your runtime. You have a digital fuel display that's going to go from 100% all the way down to, of course, 0%. Electric start on this guys. So it has 3 ways to start. Electric start, it's actually got Bluetooth. You can start it with Bluetooth, and of course you can do your recoil pull cord start. You've got a 12 volt USB-A and USB-C power output. You got your main power switch. This is parallel capable. It does come with parallel cable, so you can hook up 2 of these units if you want to. Got your grounding plug. You've got a 30 amp RV output, and this is true 30 amp. Max running amperage off of this thing is around 32.5 amps. Running amps is around 26.5 amps, but true 30 amp output. This is going to be your liquid propane connection point and your fuel source. So you're going to toggle that back and forth between gas and propane, depending on your choice. And then you only have one 120 volt output. You can always put an extension cord with multiple outputs on it, but I would have liked to seen at least 2 of these on here, but I think, having the 30 amp probably took up a little bit of room, but there is your 120 volt output, and then your 20 amp circuit breaker, and this does have a CO alert monitor, so if you're running this in too much of a confined space, it's going to shut itself down if it detects too much carbon monoxide. You do have a LED light up top, and that's the front. So on the side here, you're going to have your gasoline fuel switch, which is going to be basically act as your choke, so starting, running, and then right before you want to actually put this machine up, turn it right almost to the off, and it's going to burn up all of the gas in that carburetor to keep that carburetor from gumming up, and it's going to start next time. And then just your single recoil pull start starting cord. Around the back, you've got your spark arrestor, and this is one of the things, guys, that you need to check on regular maintenance. Just take this off, spray it with some brake cleaner, because if this thing gets gummed up, it's going to give you really hard time starting and keeping this thing running well, and it's a really easy thing to take off. You just undo these screws right here on the side, take off the spark arrestor, spray some brake cleaner or carburetor fluid on the screen, and you're good to go. And I will say they were pretty generous with what they're giving you, you're paying for it, but what you're paying for with this generator, they give you a couple of different output plugs, so you can make your own. This is gonna be your 30 amp twist lock that you can just, obviously you're gonna have to wire it yourself, but it does come with that. It's gonna come with a standard 120 volt, to where if you have an extra cable, you can make your own. And this is gonna be your 30 amp twist lock, to your standard 30 amp RV plug-in. Then you got, of course, your RV propane hose. It comes with the parallel cables if you want to buy a second unit. And of course your spark plug wrench and a Phillips head also comes in the bag. So, and this little cover that I love to use in my garage because my garage gets dusty. So when you're not using this, just put the cover over that and it helps keep this thing looking new and clean and running healthy. So the generator does not come shipped with oil, so you do have to make sure you put oil in this before you start it up. And actually, most of these will not let you start it because it does have a low oil indicator. But it comes with a little funnel, which is really handy. You just screw it in. Really helps eliminate any kind of the mess. And this particular model calls for 454-ish milliliters of oil. So when I'm breaking my generators in, I don't like to use synthetic. After about 20 hours, I'll start running synthetic on these things. But to get the engine broken in, just standard oil, and I got about 5 ounces of Marvel Mystery Oil. I've always used it. I just think it works well. So we're gonna get this thing topped off with oil. Pop this cover back on. And we're good to go. One thing that I forgot and that I'm not used to is that since this does have Bluetooth and an electric start, it's got a battery on board, and you've got to take this cover back off and connect these two SAE connections. It does not come pre-installed, so just take these caps off and then connect these two together. There you go. Now you can utilize your electric starting functions on this. All right, now that we got the battery hooked up, you can see this screen kind of comes alive. You got the little button up here for your LED light. Obviously we have no load, which is this monitor down here. It's at 0%. Nothing coming out of the inverter in terms of voltage or amps or time. So that's just gonna be flashing zeros. 0 on the fuel gauge. So that's basically it. Again, I think I'm gonna run this off of liquid propane. So I'm gonna go get my propane tank, put it outside, and we're gonna try to get that thing started with the electric start button. Liquid propane, especially on the first time, is a little difficult. You got to get all that propane purged into this generator. So we're gonna give it a try though. So let me go get this thing put outside and see what we can do. Now, one of the first questions that I had to myself was on this battery that's built into the unit. You can kind of DIY yourself a way to keep this thing on a trickle charger. Me personally, I'll probably drill a small hole in the side of this case and pull out that SAE connector when I'm not using it and connect it up to a trickle charger while it's in storage. That's going to keep the battery completely topped off. So when you do need it, you'll have to take the case off and plug those two SAE connectors back together. But this does have an onboard battery charger. So when the unit is running and powering a load, it's going to charge up that battery, very similar to an alternator in a car. But I think for long-term storage, you're probably going to want to get some type of really small 1 amp trickle charger and connect it directly to that battery. Either take this completely off and leave it open to the elements, or drill a small hole and maybe put like a rubber grommet and push that SAE connector out and then connect some type of trickle charger to it. But it does have an on-board battery charger. When it's running, it'll help top that battery off. This generator weighs about 50 pounds with no gas in it, so it's not crazy heavy, but I'm gonna try to start this thing using propane. I'll be honest, I've never had the best luck getting these brand new generators started right off the bat using propane, so we'll see how this one fares. All right, moment of truth. I've got the camera under my garage because it is kind of rainy and dank out here, but I got the unit turned on. I've got the liquid propane switch turned to liquid propane, of course. I've got the fuel switch turned to on. The directions are honestly a little bit confusing on that one, but I have it set to the middle on button. No gas in it. So we're gonna try to start this thing off of the electric start. Again, not anticipating a whole lot, but here we go. No way, no way. Yeah, okay, let's try it again. So that was better than I thought it was gonna be. Wow. So it does have two idle speeds, the max idle speed and then the low idle speed like all inverter generators have. I cannot believe that thing started off on the second try on liquid propane. That's great. I've never had one do that. It might not seem like a big deal, but I've done 3 or 4 of these generators here this last year, and none of them have been able to start brand new off of liquid propane. I've always kind of had to jump start them on gasoline. So now I know I don't have to dirty that thing up with any more with any gas in it. So the fact that it started off the second push on the electric start off of liquid propane, that's pretty awesome. But I'm going to cut it off and we're going to test out the app on it now to see if the app will work and start this thing. So imagine being able to be sitting in your RV at night or in the morning and you don't feel like getting out in the cold. In theory, you should be able to use the app to turn it on to kick on your heater or whatever you need this generator for. So let's see if that works. So the whole app process was actually pretty easy. So you download the MaxpeedingRODS app. I've already connected the MXR4000 GT to the app, so we're going to click on it. So on the app, you've got your fuel, your voltage, your frequency, your start. You can turn it on eco mode or low idle mode. It's going to have all your RPMs up top. So this obviously is not running. She's sitting out there. So now let's give it a shot and see if we can get this thing to start. Yeah. This is showing 124 volts at 60 hertz. Let's make sure that it's telling the truth, and I'm going to go hook up a meter to it and see what we can get. .24 volts, 60 hertz. So we are about 20 feet away from that generator here in the garage. It is not in eco mode or low idle mode. And that's about 60 decibels when I'm not talking. Let's throw it in low idle mode. About 58 decibels, and I'll tell you, it's pretty quiet. Obviously, it's not as quiet as a battery-powered generator, but it's actually really pretty quiet. So, with this being my own personal generator that I'm going to use for the house, I'm not gonna damage it to prove the running watts right now. You really need to break these generators in over about 20 hours. So I'm not going to do the full 3,200 running watts on this thing. I want that oil to get that engine broken into, but I've got a 15 watt heater here, 1500 watt heater. Obviously no problem running off of liquid propane. It did kick into standard idle mode. But yeah, it's running it just fine. Got 0.1 hours. 123 volts, 60 hertz. Make sure this light works. Light works. Overall, I'm highly impressed so far. Obviously, it's brand new. I will do a longer-term review on this thing once I get the engine broken into it. But this thing started right up off of liquid propane. All of the features of this thing: Bluetooth start, remote start, recoil start. 30 amp plug, CO2 detector, light. Man, I really am digging this one. So for size comparison, guys, you probably have seen this generator. This is the Honda EU 2200i. And it's, again, 2200 watts. This is 4,000 starting watts, and they are roughly about the same size. Pretty incredible. There you go, folks. Like I said, I'm not gonna do a complete try to break this thing because I'm actually gonna use it for my own personal uses. So you can probably still hear it outside the driveway. I'm gonna let it run for about 5 hours on just with no load. As soon as that 5 hours is up, I'm gonna drain the oil, put new oil in it, because that's how I found breaking in my generators works the best. 5 hours, no load, change the oil, then put a half of load on it, or even less than half a load, for about another 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. Once you get over 20 hours is when I start to use synthetic oil, and I'm comfortable running the rated full max output on that generator. But for right now, I'm just gonna let it do its thing out there in the driveway. So far, I'm really impressed. Very short-term review. Don't get me wrong, I understand that. There will be a longer-term review on this thing because I take them out and start them every 2 or 3 months here at the house to keep them running. But so far, really, really nice. But I believe there's going to be a discount on this specific generator. So make sure you check the description box below for that code, because you probably could save a little bit of money. And I think this might be a Honda killer. My Honda, it's actually very hard to start, and I keep it maintained very well, and it is only single fuel. It's not I cannot run propane off that 2200i. So I know it's gonna be cheaper than that Honda, and it's got more bells and whistles on it. So we'll see how it holds up in the long run, because those Hondas are built like tanks. But so far I'm really happy. So gang, thanks for watching, and we will see you soon. Take care.